This is the Hudson Frizz. Inside Hudson Frizz was the bonded vault where they had all the safety deposit boxes. I know that because all my friends that got charged with it were all in jail. They told me everything about it, but I was acquitted of this because I had nothing to do with the robbery, and I proved my case in court.
Did the other one.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to another edition of Live with Jerry T. I am Dave, and I'm here with Jerry and a guest. I'll show you them in a second, and you will talk all about. We're going to talk all about all kinds of things. The good old days with Paul DiMaio is here, and so for what I want to start with though is like, okay, I'm going to show this picture of Jerry. Here we go. I'm going to shoot. This is the shot of Jerry. You can see him at the table. It looks like they're at a telethon, right? Raising money. Call us now. Number on the screen. No, but actually, here's the thing I wanted to go with, Jerry. We're going to do a little role play, all right? It's 1975. You've just been picked up for the bonded vault.
Wrong date.
It's 1974, 6. It's sometime in the 70s.
1975, I got arrested.
Yeah, okay, it's 1970. It's 1976 you got arrested.
January.
And you're in jail, and the jailer goes, Tillinghast, one phone call. One phone call, Jerry. You got one call. What do you do?
Call the mail.
Ring, ring.
Hello.
Hey, Paul.
Hi, Jerry.
How you doing, buddy?
Good.
I got falsely arrested, and best thing you can do is try to get up there so I can explain to you what's going on.
They're at it again, Jerry?
Again, yeah.
They're going to try.
Every relentless, God bless them.
What does they claim you did?
Rob the bonded vault.
I don't know what that is. I'll be up.
So that's it. One phone call, and it would be to Paul DiMaio,
No. Well,
an attorney specializing.
Well, when I got arrested
criminal
that
law.
time, I got tuned into Jack Cicilline.
Mhm.
He wound up being my attorney because Paul was going to suspect a witness.
No, just the bonded wall.
Huh?
Just the bonded wall.
Oh, I'm sorry.
76.
So many
January
cases, I get them
76.
confused.
Was that the first?
Wall.
Yeah.
Was that the first time? Was that the first time you worked together? Was
Well,
bonded
19
vault?
cases with them.
We had
19.
off and on 10 charges by the feds alone.
19. That was the third or fourth time.
Hmm.
There was a murder alleged before that. But regardless, that was the longest trial we had. That was.
You found each other through Harold.
Yeah, I knew his brother Harold. I grew up in Edgewood, in Cranston, and Harold and a bunch of guys were from the Washington Park, South Province area. So it was a guy named Jimmy DeBartolo who had a facility called Freeway Auto, and he was a lot of friends up there. I got to know Harold even before I became a lawyer.
Yeah.
So to Harold, I think Jerry maybe was in prison when I passed the bar.
He was doing it 2 years or something like that.
I think you were, yeah. I represent Harold a bunch of nonsense things. Harold,
Victimized a lot of times.
Harold was a good guy. He was, we go and have a few beers together. You'd like him if you met him. So through that, I got to meet Harold. I represent a lot of people of the alleged crime nature, guys like Freddie Bishop. Romeo Gabriel had a robbery with him in 1971, Eddie Lato. So I've been for a young lawyer, I've been to a lot of trials. In fact, when we got arrested we were just in the middle of an attempted murder case involving 2 or 3 other people and a gentleman named Romeo Gabriel in front of Judge Giannini, who was the judge in the ball case. He never made a decision. It was an attempted murder case of 2 people that were coming out of prison for a work release. So we made some motions, clogged it all up. The case was never heard. 7 weeks on the jury trial with that. So in comes the bond ball case with Jerry. And we really put a lot of work into that case.
Hey, we're live with Jerry Tillinghast from Crimetown, also Paul DiMaio, who is an attorney specializing in criminal law, and he happened to represent Jerry Tillinghast in a few cases. Most notably, did you have any idea that bonded vault, the case for that, was going to go as long as it did? 8 or 9 months, right?
8
I had no idea. Getting back to Jerry, we had some interesting things we did before that.
I would love to know all the interesting things.
A good
yes.
friend of mine, his mother got a second marriage. She married a sailor that was here in Newport. The sailor was about 20 years younger, 30 years younger, and she was a wealthy woman. So she moved to the state of Missouri. Her son approaches one day and said, my mother's out there in Missouri. Her sailor friend started to beat on her, and she needs a divorce. Okay. So he went out to visit these people, and they were shooting at him from the mountains, from the hills around her house. All the people were shooting at him. So he was afraid to go out there with his mother to go back there for her life. So I knew the right person to accompany her was Jerry. This was 1975. So I called Mr. Tillinghast and said, Jerry, would you do me a favor? This woman needs to be safe when she goes there on the plane and while she's there.
All right, I have a question already.
Sure.
Jerry, is this something, what were you doing at this time when you got this call?
I was in Michael's lounge having a drink.
Yeah, just doing your thing?
Yeah.
And then you get this call.
Me.
Yeah.
I went to see him because I know for him to call me, it had to be important.
It's the same year, I suppose, that Bonneville happened. I forgot what month it was we were there, but it's the same year, 75. So you get questions of getting on the plane. I drive there with 3 other guys and myself. And we took a detour because I love antique cars. And went down to Texas to look at an antique car and drove up from Texas to Missouri and met Jerry there. All right, so now we had 4 people. 3 with me and Jerry. I'm not a body type guy. Watching out for her. So I get a lawyer for her. This is hilarious. From St. Louis. We meet him. And I know it's like, he's in the last year they made the Imperials was 1975. We're in this car on a 2-lane highway in some dark area in Missouri, Springfield, Missouri. And the guy starts telling us what a great crew the lawyer is. I'm in the front seat, Jerry's in the back seat. I said, what did you do? He said, I just won a murder case. Well, good for you. How'd you do this? I made my man turn informant. From the back seat, these 2 big hands come. Stop grabbing the guy. We're going 75 miles an hour. On the back road. Jerry, you're stupid.
I was fucking around. Paul's trying to get me
Guys
off.
all over the road.
Why? What did he say?
Because he said he won.
He made one of his defendant become a stool pigeon.
Yeah,
Man, that stuff drives you crazy, huh?
Yes, it does.
Rats and stool pigeons. There's nothing worse.
Same thing.
So luckily,
That's the name of my new band, Rats and Stool Pigeons.
luckily you survived that. You get that all done. But so the next
Wait,
day,
how does it end? He just
we finally let him go.
You shut up, we'll tell you.
We finally let him go, and he starts driving. So and then he's calmed down in the back seat for a while. So then next day we go to court, in the family court, and we're there. He's in a suit on. He looked like Barry Gibb with a suit on.
Funny part about this is, I'm in the back, I'm on the spectator side of the railing. He's ahead. So I turned around and I listened to him, and he was saying that they needed a file that they weren't getting. So I'm all dressed up, so I look at the clerk, and I got my briefcase with me for, and I turn around, I see the clerk, I says, excuse me, can I talk to you? Yeah, well, we've been waiting for delivery for a case, and we need the folder on the case so we can further move on with this. And he said, oh, yeah, and he went, and he got it. I turned around and I handed the fucking, the file. I said, here you go, Paul. Paul looked at me and said, what the fuck? It was just funny. I knew what they needed, and I seen the clerk.
He took care of it. So then,
Well, at this point, you know your way around a courthouse too. I mean, you had.
Not in Missouri.
Oh, is it really that different?
That was a good old boy down there.
Good old boy.
not always different. So we find out that there's been a fraudulent mortgage on the home that she owned. She didn't sign it. It's a fraudulent piece of paper in favor of the husband, because they didn't have joint property down there. So at this point in time, they take a 2-hour break in these courtrooms. That's what the 2 hours do nothing all day long. So we go over to the bank, talk to the bank manager. I introduce myself. Jerry just said, I'm Mr. Tillinghast. So Jerry says to the bank.
Nobody knew my name, actually.
No, that's right.
Nobody knew my name.
Can I see you in your office? Jerry says, you stay here. Goes in the office with him. About 20 minutes later, comes out with a release of the mortgage. All right? A
To this day,
discharge,
folks don't know what I
a
said.
discharge of this mortgage. Swear to God. We went down, filed it, the mortgage is discharged. $200,000 or something like that. So we get out of there.
They complete the thing, so we're back to the home. Jerry's in the house. I went someplace.
Here's what happened. We checked it all out. We checked the area out. So I told Paul, look,
Look, remember, there were people that were shooting at my client, my client's son and my client before we came, months before that. This was the Wild West.
she gave me the key to get into the house. I said, Paul, this is what we're gonna do. You drop me off. I'll call you, or you come back in a couple hours. I'll be at the other end of the road. And so I'm over there sitting right near the door, waiting. I was there. I made something to eat. I had time. It was a lot of time. She said I could. So, and anyway, so here it is. I hear the car pull up, and the door opens, and I flip the guy's light on. He didn't know how to act. He didn't know how to act. And I explained to him a little process about what he was doing. If he ever put a hand on her again, then he's going to the hospital for a long time. I said, and you got to straighten this out. You're trying to screw her. You're doing everything fraudulently. Just be honest. Go to court and sign the paperwork like you're supposed to. You're trying to beat the lady, you know? And a few other things, persuasive comments.
Now remember, he had no money till he married this woman.
Right.
So once he got married, got locked in, he started to beat on her so she can get rid of her and keep her money. That's what the story
We
is.
go outside. I take him outside. Now it's pitch black out. And the next closest house was what, 5 miles, maybe?
Yeah.
So I told him, I said, listen. He said, what do you mean? I said, just listen for a minute. He said, I said, it's pretty quiet, right? He said, yeah. I said, well, this is what I want to explain to you because your neighbor's 5 miles away. They're not going to hear anything. So don't make me come back. Let's just do what you got to do. I just put a scare tactic down. That's all. But he went, they worked it out. And then afterwards, shabby leadership over here, you know?
I'm sorry.
So we went, and then I told Paul he had a garage turned into like a
The
club,
pool table, yeah.
and the doors are open, the garage doors. So we go to where the pool table is. I just say we got to follow up on this, make sure he's doing the right thing. Nothing wrong. We're not breaking no laws.
We're getting stuff out of there.
Yeah.
We had a trailer. We're putting her stuff in it. She
So
was going to fly back with Jerry. We were going home with all
I
the
said to
trailer.
Paul, I said, let's wait a little while, see what's happening. See, kind of every 20 minutes, a patrol car was going by. So Paul says, yeah, he's looking to be protected by the cops. So number one, automatically when he does that, he's a rat. I don't give a shit, you know. But and he had a few people in there. But
Oh, yeah.
when the cop made his second appearance and he went, I know I got 20 minutes to get in there and talk to him. As soon as they went by, I walked in. I says, you got 18 minutes left. He said, 18? Yeah. I said, because that's the next time the patrol car comes around. Now, everybody's set. We're all good? Yes. Okay, fine. Amicable? Yeah, okay. Because to that day, or to this day, no one knew who the hell I was. They didn't know my name and nothing. I didn't give them nothing. They just looked at me.
I
and
made
they
that
said, "Oh."
representation as an attorney. I didn't say a word, but we got her out of there. Her sole owner of the house, all the important possessions we took in this trailer,
Yeah,
took
but
out of there.
how about the next day we went? It was all it said 165 acres.
Yeah, that's right.
Back then it was like $1,000 an acre. So anyway, there was a pond on there. There was a horse. So there was a pickup truck. So we get in the back of the pickup truck. I get in the back of the pickup truck.
Right.
They're inside
Forgot.
there driving. We get halfway in the middle of the complex, and everybody's getting out to walk around and see something. And the kid said, "Watch out for the rattlesnakes."
That's right.
Okay. I said, "That's good. I can see everything I need to see."
Don't
right
step
from this
outside
truck.
the rattlesnakes. Yeah,
I wasn't getting out of that truck.
Believe me, the hillbillies were surrounding not only the cops, but the local kids and people, young men, were driving all around this piece of property. We were there.
Every car you
We
see,
thought they were going to attack.
They're all armed too.
I'm sure
Yeah.
they were armed. Yeah.
every car, mostly the ones, the trucks and stuff, they all had rifles. You could see them.
No, we had 3 other guys. Those guys who might have been armed. I don't know. The guys that came, they might have been armed. I don't know. The guys that came up by car. I didn't ask them. But they weren't. They weren't anything but just regular guys that knew the young man whose mother this was. So it was just for free he did this, no money. Because he's gallant. He didn't like what was happening to the woman. She's getting punched out. All right? Bad news.
We were on the plane, and I got to talk to her for quite a while, and she was a pretty good lady. Pretty good lady. She was older than me at the time. I was only like
she was old.
early 20s. She was like
Yeah.
50.
He's older than me, yeah.
He was 25. Exactly twice her age. She was twice his
Right,
age.
right.
But,
Pay some bills? You mind?
name it.
All right, let's start with our favorite, Marchetti's.
All right, Marchetti's, people, if you haven't been there, you have to go by and check it out. Not only are they great people that own it, but you've got a great staff, good prices, and the food, it's a tough job you have to finish everything. Everybody winds up taking home a tray. You have to try it out.
I've been there. It's terrific. Terrific place.
Canizaro Food Products.
Steve, just Catanzaro, let me tell you something. They're all over the market, sauce, everything, but they make pastries, and they have, I don't know if anybody else does, but they got a product there for pets. You know, you can to feed your pets. But they're great people, and you just gotta go to the markets and you see Catanzaro's products, and then you go online and you can probably order from them directly, and you can't never go wrong with them.
CanizaroFoodProducts.com. Hey, how about Harriet's?
Harriet's, that's one of my haunts. I go there for breakfast quite a bit. The best part about Harriet's is I don't think there's any home fries better than the ones they serve. And waitresses are good, the owners are good, the prices are good, and the food, it's just like Marchetti's. Sometimes you have to take it home. You can't finish it all.
And last but not least, Amadeo.
Amadeo's makes some of the best pizzas in the state. I was there last night, as a matter of fact, and we were talking about things, and but the food there is great. I don't think it's got a bowl of pasta fazool off the charts. Forget about it. And there's also, I have a special salad. Me and his mom made up a while back for when I was on my diet, and it's a great salad. So if you go in and ask for Jerry's salad, you're gonna get a hell of a salad, but don't say I said so, because his mom might want to strangle me, because that's a lot of process.
And last but not least, we're here at Edgewood Gallery, custom framing, fine art, Ronnie the Framer. Come in and see him. What's the phone number here? Ronnie?
461-7555.
The first time I ever met Jerry Tillinghast was at Ronnie the Framer's. I thought I was getting framed.
Oh, should have got beat down.
Ronnie never framed anybody.
Nope.
All right, so we paid the bills, and now we're back. You guys have some old school phones. It's pretty impressive. Those old school phones that we found for you.
Just
I'm glad.
I
I
don't
feel at
think
home.
so.
I feel at home.
That one little bit that we did, we found some nice props.
I don't think so.
You don't think those are nice props?
What part of I don't did you miss? I or don't?
That's a rotary phone. And your first call would be directly to Paul DiMaio.
One thing I want to say, funny, if Paul remembers this, I remember we were going back and forth so much to court. I'd be waiting, calling Paul 2 in the morning. Well, I got arrested. I went in his office one day, put down, I saved my money, and I put down a couple thousand on his desk. He says, "What are you doing with that?" I said, "Listen,
Just in case. That's
just in
after the
case." I
bonded vault.
said, "When I call you 2 in the morning, be there. That's all."
That was after the bonded vault.
Yeah, and he had to. Don't say that.
No, it wasn't for that. It was no cash. There was no cash in the bonded vault.
Come on, man. What are you throwing me under
There
the
was
bus
no
for?
cash. You didn't do that. There was all gold in the bonded vault. So they told me.
But
That's a year later, by the
we
way.
were fighting.
It's a year
We
later.
were fighting to get for him to take it. He didn't want to take
It's a year
it.
later.
I just walked out. It was funny. I just walked out and said, "Here you go, boom. I'll see you later. Don't just answer the phone when I call."
So in between that time-wise, I used to have a lot of one Christmas party every year, and we'd have it in my office, which was in 215 Broadway, a building I just sold after been in my family since 1947. We'd have the whole building, because there were friends of mine had apartments, we had offices. So we're at the table, and this friend of mine, Wayne, who unfortunately is dead now, and his wife, she's alive, wonderful girl, were recently married, sitting at the table, and there's another guy, a client of mine from Coventry, real big, guy was about 6'4", a woodcutter, I'd say 280, powerful guy.
Real redneck.
Yeah, complete redneck. We're sitting at the end of the table, and Jerry's near me over here. And this guy said something to the couple, to Wayne and his, he said something that you could tell Jerry didn't like the way he was treating the girl. He didn't know these people. The guy who said that was trying to make Wayne's wife. Jerry stood up and said something to the effect. What'd you say to the guy?
I said, hey, don't talk to her like that again, or then don't disrespect her.
Yeah, right. So then the guy,
Because I knew they were all friends, that's why.
I know that. And it's a girl. You always treat women well. So then the guy starts,
My ex-wife will argue that.
this guy starts making aggressive comments to Jerry. And I'm not paying attention to it. And under his, so Jerry tells him off again, something, under his breath. You and I could never heard this. A lot of noise in the room. But the cat heard somebody threaten him. The guy said and threatened him from a long way away with all the noise. He jumped up, had something to say. I said, Jerry, he asked him outside. Jerry, don't go out with him. He's a tough guy.
Oh, he asked me out.
Oh, he
The
did.
guy, he asked me outside. I said, all right, then that,
I said,
go ahead,
don't,
no, Paul, stop me.
don't go out. It's a tough guy, Jerry. You know, be careful. Don't want you to go out. Don't worry about it. One guy came back, Jerry.
I said, wait, I got this one.
But he was defending the woman he didn't know. And that's a true story.
There's one thing that Jerry, I have to say. You hate stool pigeons, you hate rats, and you treat women with respect.
Yeah, hates men that hate women.
As much as I possibly can.
As much as possible you can. Although you did tell me once.
Sometimes, don't get me wrong, ladies out there, but there are some women don't deserve the respect because they don't act that way.
Huh.
You treat them the way they carry themselves. If they carry themselves like a hoe, you treat them like a hoe. Fuck them.
Oh, yeah. Hey, let's get to some comments real quick. We've got some really interesting comments. Hey, Gang of Four. That's his YouTube handle, Gang of Four. He's been loving our channel.
That's
He said,
interesting.
hey guys, shout out from Boston. So what's up, Boston? Nancy Olofsson over on Facebook. Here's some hearts.
That's my girl. She's in Florida. Hello, Nancy. I love you, girl.
Billy Lavely. Yes. He's helping me with the audio. We had some audio issues there for a minute. We're good though.
Okay.
Thanks. Billy helps us out. Gang of Four helps us out. Profish71.
I like that Gang of Four. I like that.
Hey,
little-
so Lynn Gardner says hello to Paul D. And
Oh, sure. Oh, nice person. Yeah, sure.
Attorney?
Good lady.
Yeah,
I'm not going to tell you what she is.
All right.
She's a good lady.
And Nancy says I love you too. Jay.
Okay.
All right. So there's some comments. Hey, so we're talking with, we're live with Crimetown's Paul DiMaio and Jerry Tillinghast. And there's phones, not because they're on a Jerry Lewis telecast, telethon, but because my early joke was, who would you call first? You had one phone call. Now, Jerry, second phone call. Where would the second phone call go in 1976 when you were arrested for the bond vault?
Probably home to my wife to let her know I got arrested and ask her to do a few things for me.
Mhm.
I mean, other than that, who else is gonna help you? You're in jail. They're not gonna come and see you. Not until you get done. So you don't call certain people anyway.
Mhm.
But
Interesting. All right. We're telling stories from your past.
So when he calls, now I have to examine the bonded vault, what it is. I go talk to him, tells me he didn't do it. Tells me where he was. We finally eventually found out where he was at the alleged time. So we have a bail hearing. Anytime you're charged with a capital offense, which may carry life, you're held without bail if the state has to prove that to a certain level that you may have done this, but the majority of the evidence against you. So we have this bail hearing, and I represented Jerry at the bail hearing. Judge Fasano, I think, was the judge.
right.
Jack Cicilline was there, and retired judge, passed away, Judge Jack, what was it? Not O'Neill, but anyway, they brought in a guy from Everett Bennett Williams' office in Washington, D.C. Brilliant lawyer, his big name. His name was Pulver. After we could not win the bail hearing, he said to me, this case can't be won. We're not going to continue. We only continue cases we can win. Everett Bennett Williams' office. I said to him, well, you're lucky. You can go anyplace else and earn a living. I have to stay. It's my town. I got to defend my people. Win, lose, or draw, it's my job. So we go on. I spent a lot of time checking. His half-brother, Larry Masterfield, told me where he was, that he was in. I didn't ask Jerry who it was. He just told me he didn't do it. He thinks he's playing baseball. Talked to Masterfield. Masterfield told me where it was.
Masterfine.
Masterfield.
My brother Larry.
So, a good guy. So I go back. He starts off, he was playing softball in a particular league. I go in the archives of the Journal, check the dates, the time for these games, make sure they had the games, make sure everything we did was correct. I went to New Hampshire with Masterfield, talked to all the people up there, checked the locations of where he said he was, every single witness, put him on cross-examination, everything I had to do to make sure his alibi was correct. Because I learned, even at this early stage, to practice in 8 years at this time, that the easiest way to lose a case is to make a mistake in defense. The jury will hold the prosecutor, they'll give them a little leeway. But a defense, you get caught in one light, you're gone. So, and we went on to trial. The trial took about 2 months to impanel a jury.
Yeah.
And it was from 9 o'clock in the morning to 5 o'clock.
4.5 months every day.
Including Saturdays.
Yeah.
Never had been trials on Saturdays, including Saturdays, every day. Judge Giannini was an excellent judge. He listened to everything everybody had to say, even some crazy stuff that Harvey Brower, who was a crazy lawyer, put on these perjured witnesses. So an interesting story about Mr. Tillinghast. In the middle of this trial, I was like the lesser known attorney of this group of people. Harvey Brower was a brilliant professor of law, but he was a nut. They had perjured witnesses. Witnesses had nothing to do with Jerry's defense. Nothing to do with us at all. They wanted me to put them on, because I'm not doing it. We go to the prison. There's that big table you see in the news. In those days, they had a dinner on the table and a big conference, and it existed. The other lawyer said, "You got to do it." The other defendant said, "You got to do it." I'm not doing it. Jerry stands up in front of all those people.
Well, they wanted me to get Harvey Brower. Remember?
Yeah, I know, but you stood up and you said, anybody harmed a hair on this kid's head, you're going to deal with me. I will try this case without a lawyer before that happens. Swear to God. That's what he said to them, to all the other defendants there. So he said, you take a day or so, find out what you want to do. So I went back. 2 days later, I came back to those lawyers and said, look, now I got his backing. Here's what we're doing. We're doing our client. I don't want anything to do with your people. You're liars. Not the witnesses. The defendants weren't liars. The witnesses were crazy people, had nothing, didn't know what they're talking about. I don't want anything to do with it. Just leave us alone. We do Jerry's case and that's it. So that's what we did. And the reason we won is because they couldn't crack his alibi because it was true. And we were then required, because we were the lesser lawyers, to put our alibi on, our witnesses on first. The other defendant said, no, you got to do this. Okay. Because that gave the state 2 months to go through everything our people had to say and see if there's any fault. There was not one thing they could do. All the other defendants, except Harris Burton's client, who was my law partner, God rest his soul, they cracked the alibi, one witness, two witnesses, those people found guilty. So that jury, in fact, looked at the state. They didn't really, the mistake, and Jerry will agree, that the state made, they had two informants, two people testifying. Therefore, we compared the stories one to the other. So it's conflicting comments between the two. And I believe one of them wanted to help, tried to help us, Joe Denise. He was getting a break, but he was trying to help us, I believe. So he screwed it up for the other people. So at the end, whoever they found was not believable, they found for the defendant, against the defendant.
What was your alibi?
I was in New Hampshire
New Hampshire.
at a friend of my brother's birthday party. The ironic part was my brother Larry says, Jerry says, you see something wrong with this date? I said, what? What are you talking about? Because my mind was focused on it. He says, you were me.
That's right.
You and me in New Hampshire at my friend, I forget his first name. Let's just say Rick for the basis. It was his birthday party.
And he tells me that story. I say, okay, all right, Jerry. All right. So I check it out.
Yeah, but another good thing about it, see, everybody filed discovery, they have to give up an alibi. They have to give up their witnesses. We didn't.
Yeah, we
I
outsmarted them.
We got the paperwork. I mean, the only difference between me filing for discovery or them is our names are all blacked out. So you know everything that's going on. So why should we do that?
This was a year after we went to the discovery procedures in Rhode Island. 1975, they changed the procedure. So there were 5 other defendants. They're going to ask for discovery. They're going to get the grand jury tapes. They're going to get all this stuff. We don't ask. When you ask, you have to give reciprocal discovery, a summary, what the guy's going to say, who the
When they
witnesses are.
did that, they gave them a list of all their witnesses. And I'm going to tell you something. The state police or whoever was that was going out interviewing these witnesses tortured them.
Oh,
I
yeah.
mean, literally threatened them and
Oh,
everything like
yeah.
that. They won't admit it, but that's what
They
it was
did,
because they
yeah,
used to come
yeah.
back and tell the people, the clients.
They didn't know who we were going to call.
They didn't. Half the time, my witnesses were sitting in the courtroom.
Right.
They didn't know, sitting right next to the cops. They didn't know who they were.
Through the course of this trial, he got disgusted with the trial. He was playing baseball back to prison. So I get permission, and I also felt it's better if they don't see him all the time.
Yeah.
I'm sitting next to the prosecutor who was one of them, John Murphy. I grew up in Edgewood. He was one of the prosecutors.
The prosecutor's witnesses couldn't even pronounce my name.
Right.
They didn't even know what my last name was.
So we asked permission to Judge Denny if he can stay at the prison while we're trying the case. Give him permission to do that. So I'm talking to the prosecutors, Al DeRobio and John Murphy, most of the time. They may have blurred their association with defendants and non-defendants. Whatever did, we worked because he didn't do it anyway. I mean, justice was done. But I wasn't going to give them the names because they would have tortured our witnesses. They were going to New Hampshire to torture them. They would have tortured them.
Yeah, that was crazy.
There were fights in the courtroom. I was under a pile of state policemen and defendants, and there's this back and forth with Jerry and Al DeRobio, who was a great guy, a great lawyer, but he had a habit of insulting the defendants. I knew this. I knew how he was.
We set him up
to get him
because
mad.
He was doing it, and we turned it around on him.
Right.
He was actually, he turned out he wasn't a bad guy. He did what he had to do, But we had him foaming at the mouth, me and Chucky. It was funny as a bastard because he'd be going to say something. We go, and he'd stop and he'd look. We go, because he was sitting. The prosecutor's seat was right next to the jury. So when a witness got up there, he'd be saying, "Yeah, that's a bunch of bullshit." You know what I mean? Not loud enough, but the jury could hear it.
He had a habit of whispering to the defendants. I knew this from other trials with him. To get the defendant angry in front of the jury. So I warned him, keep your eyes open for this. Don't fall for it. And he didn't. He reversed it on him.
Yeah.
And poor Al got angry at him. So that's when the fight began. Some state trooper grabs him. What did he do to start that whole?
Well, the marshal was putting the cuffs on. We're going to go downstairs. And I said, hold it. I'm talking to my lawyer. When I'm done talking to my lawyer, we'll go downstairs. And they say, well, I said, wait a minute. I'm talking to my lawyer. So one of the state police officers reached over and put his hand, the hand would have went around a basketball.
Oh, I know.
And he put it around my wrist and he just squeezed. And I'm telling you, it hurt like a bastard, but I wouldn't give him the satisfaction. So I turned around and excuse my language out there, people, but I said, listen, can you squeeze a little harder? Because I'm getting ready to come, and I spit in his face. And that was that.
There was piles of me on the ground, Harris on the ground, him on top of me. It's going on 20 minutes. All right. Judge had just gone off the bench. And the jury was
trying to move, and the chairs were out. They were stumbling over the chairs, so they were kind of with cuffs, so they're pulling us with them.
They didn't teach me that in law school. And there was something wrong with this scene. And that was the first trial. They had a metal detector in front of that particular courtroom. Never before, and never after that, until they started in the last 90s, 80s, 90s, 2000. But then Harris Burson was my buddy, my law partner.
He's a good guy.
He was a crazy, crazy guy.
That was funny.
He'd come in with a belt, had a knife on it. It'd ring, but he'd take it off. Or he'd come in with some other goddamn thing, weapon. What are you doing, Harris? In his final argument, his client won, Walter Ouimet. So how much we destroyed on cross-examination in the state's case, Walter Ouimet sole alibi was he was home with his wife having wine on his anniversary date. That was his alibi.
And besides, he was hardly there because he had a bad heart. He was at the prison. He didn't want to come because he
was found not guilty.
yeah. Him,
So
me, and Jake Tajan.
right.
3 out of 6 were found not guilty.
Cross-examination, we got these guys. I got him assaulted. He goes, Tillinghast, Tillingham, what difference does it make? I said, it doesn't make a difference what the guy's last name was. No, I don't know. He was talking to himself by the time we were done.
Out of all the people that were involved in that case, though, you're the only one still around, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
But another thing is, during that case, my sister and my brother Bobby, God rest his soul,
God bless
they
him.
went and got a stockade from the prison. I think Freddie Bishop had it made.
Freddie did. That's
and we
right.
asked him if we could use it
Freddie made it for you.
and send it out, and they put somebody in it with a sign around their head saying, hang the bonded vault defendants now because they're not getting a fair trial, and followed the jury.
Oh, you
bus.
don't understand. They had armed state troopers in the courtroom with guns. Did you
4,
know that?
yeah.
With
Plus the
shotguns.
detectives
Sitting in
over
the
there
room.
like that. I
Sitting in the room.
I used to turn around and say nice things.
No. Luckily, I don't understand. The Supreme Court didn't overrule because of that. They should have.
Yeah.
But no, yeah, it was terrible. How much prejudice can you get?
That wasn't
Jury intimidation.
yeah, intimidating the jury much.
The jury was sequestered all that period
I
of
was going to
time.
ask that. Was the jury sequestered?
Oh,
Yep.
They hated it. Yeah.
That's one of the longest in Rhode Island history.
But his
I think-
verdict, when they went in, they came up with 2 hours not guilty of him. The rest of it was lengthy. I'm a day or so, 2 days.
That judge,
2 hours not
they
guilty.
made the prosecutor made that jury get up each juror and for 20 counts say, "What do you plead?" And they said he's not guilty. Each time they did it, they had to remember. They had, he made them keep repeating it, repeating and repeating.
That reminds me of the case when I represented your brother in '78 in federal court with Patine.
My list.
Yes. His brother was charged with bank fraud, and there was I put him on this. I knew.
It was Judge Patine.
Yeah, Patine. So the jury comes back not guilty, and
Prior to that,
he says they pulled the jury. So the guy was the foreman was a guy that I knew him somewhat of him. He had a stepping stone ranch up
his name
there.
was Davis.
They was up there. He stood up as a judge. I said not guilty. You want to know why? Patine goes, sit down. Well, that's why they put Harold in the car 4 months later.
The funny thing was,
'Cause he's found
during
not
the
guilty of
trial,
that.
right, I'd go to the federal building, I'd sit in the trial. And you're going to make some announcements? What are you doing?
He said one ties to the other.
Yeah, one ties into the other.
Ties into the bad
So
One
mazes.
Harold into the car.
I
Let's
go-
segue into that.
I go up to the federal court building. I'm sitting in the back, and Paul's up there with Harold, and I have a piece of paper, and I'm writing on it. And I'm looking at the jury, I'm looking at everybody, and I'm writing on it. So Gail, the prosecutor, saw me, and I wanted him to see it, right? And he goes up to the judge and said, "The judge," he says, he thinks that I was writing things about the jury, right? So.
Judge Gale he turned out to be a judge. He was a good guy.
Yeah, he was an asshole.
He was a good guy. I
But
liked him.
anyway, he turned around and he told the judge asked me, he says, Mr. Tillinghast, he says, what do you have there in your hand? I says, piece of paper. What happened? Something like I told him, I said, I'm not on trial here. He said, could you show Mr. DiMaio your paper, what you have written? And I gave it to Paul. Paul looked at me, he shook his head. So he brings it up to the judge. On the list was a pickup on the way home, quarter milk,
Yeah.
some whatever the case was a list from the store. I was just fucking around writing shit out. So then he showed the prosecutor, and the prosecutor looked at me, and I'm saying, "Fucking idiot," you know, like I would go there and try to intimidate a jury with my
Never
brother's
happened.
life on the line. Yeah, crazy.
As an aside of that trial, there was a bunch of people indicted, and all of them were arrested except one. What was your cousin's name? What the bar? Donnelly?
Frank Donnelly.
Frank Donnelly.
Yeah.
And one of the defendants was a guy named Frank Donnelly. All right. So I'm asking the FBI, what about him? We can't find him. We tried everything. We can't find the guy. I bring him in. There's a warrant for his arrest. I bring him in. Where you been all this time? I'm the bartender right around the corner there, the Safari Lounge from the courthouse. All right. What do you mean they can't find me? I'm home every place. They never tried him. Harold was found not guilty. I put Harold on the stand because they didn't think I
They
was
tried to
gonna do it.
indict us all, but the grand jury didn't indict me.
Yeah, that's a different case.
Was it?
Yeah, that's the one with that,
Many of
that,
them.
that,
I
remember
know.
that, remember
Yeah,
that
I don't
rat?
know.
Remember
I'll tell
that
you
big
the
rat? The hell his name was?
Oh,
Yeah, you know the guy.
yeah.
Yeah,
That was the bank fraud.
What's the bank fraud?
Yeah, that was the bank
Okay,
fraud.
well,
I didn't get indicted because I walked in.
how'd you miss that show?
Listen, Lincoln Gale was there at the time. I walked in, he asked Harris Burson. His glasses started fogging up when I said it. Ronnie Carroll,
Yeah, that's who
he
it
was
was.
sitting there. They were going to call him as witness to go up
Yeah.
to him and say, hey, Jerry, I said, don't say hi to me.
What's
piece
it,
of
that's
shit.
right. He
I
started
said,
there,
you
right?
go in.
That's
I said,
right.
you want to
That's
mention
right.
my name, that's okay.
That's right. It was Ronnie Carroll.
I says, I'll come out in 5 or 10 years when
Yeah.
I do. I'm going to fuck you up. Lincoln, I said, you can't talk about it. I said, fuck you too. You know,
He was lying. You know,
it was.
they didn't
wild.
think I was going to put Harold on the stand because he's got a bad record at that time, right? So I told the prosecutor, Ted Gale, we became good friends after that and after the Wilmette trial. But professionally,
Yeah, but Gale said to Harold after he was acquitted, he talked to me, he says, what are you going to do now, Mr. Tillinghast? I asked Harold, says, well, you know what? I'm thinking of opening up a frog pond. I'm going to make you my head Wally Park. Well, that was funny as a bastard.
so I told him, I said, I'm not going to put him on the stand. He's got a bad record. Oh, okay. Who's the first witness? Harold Tillinghast. Harold, you've been convicted of assault with a dangerous weapon, extortion. You know anything about banks? I know nothing about banks. This woman claimed he'd come in and make phony applications and numbers. And I don't know anything about banks. I beat up people to make money. I don't know anything about these banks. So that caught him right off guard. They didn't know we were going to call him. He's all not guilty. And Patine, 4 times told, but Jerry's taking notes. It was his lunch. He was going to get it. But because of that, I said to Harold, let's get out of this building. The FBI agent, and along with Vinny Vespia, I think Vespia made a mistake mentally on what Harold being in the car, but the FBI agent points him out, and I'm convinced because they think he was guilty of that 4 months earlier, the one we won, they want to just stick it to him. That's what I think.
Which led up to
Basmasian. They said it was in the car. It was not in the car. It was with him. Absolutely not in the car.
Yep. That's why part of the reason I wrote my book is to let people know that
I never asked Jerry.
he wasn't involved in
I
that.
never asked Jerry if he was there or wasn't there, but I suspected the person he named in his book as being the person that was there.
Yeah, I wouldn't just say. but,
And I
you know,
just, when he said it, he confirmed it.
I waited
but-
for him to die before I said his name. Otherwise, I wouldn't. have
Was
said
not his brother. I was sitting with him in Michael's Lounge. I'll never forget, November 30th, 1978. I was in my office on the phone. And all of a sudden, there's some strange stuff going on my phone in the office, some strange noise. Never heard it before. So I hang up the phone. I go down to Michael's Lounge to pay a bill that we had an office party the weekend before that. I walk in. This is 8:35, November 30th, 1978. I remember it to this
Is there any
day.
questions over there?
8:35. I go there. There's Harold sitting there, Michael, and out in front of the car is his car. I said, "Where's Jerry?" Harold said, "We're just here. Where is he?" It's a true statement. So this murder supposedly happened 9:15 that time. He was not there. Now they come in to arrest Jerry. Comes in later. He sits down. They come in. The cops come in. They arrest him. They leave me and Harold and Michael there. Harold, sit down, Harold. Don't go out. So he goes out. They say, let's take him too. Now, if they thought he was in that car, don't you think they would arrest him right there and shook him down for a gun instead of leaving him there at that table? No.
The way it happened was Lieutenant Vespia and Riley from the FBI came in. They arrested me, took me outside. Riley said, "We got the one we want, and let's go." Vespia says, "No, we need one more." Harold stuck his head out the door. They said, "Where you taking my brother?" And he said, "Take him too." That's how that happened. They might deny saying that, but that's what was said. I mean,
I think
Did it ever cross your mind to tell them that who it really was in the car
No.
with you?
no,
Vespia
it's not how we go.
had an honest mistake
You
in my
protect your
mind.
brother?
I think Vespia had an honest mistake who it was, a similar type here. But the mistake was the counsel didn't use me. come to trial. Now, remember discovery we mentioned, you have to give the name of your witnesses or you can't use them? His defense counsel never gave my name. I wrote,
I argued with him till I was blue in the face. I said, Harold, put Paul on the list. Let Paul come and be your witness. He said, no, because it might affect you. I said, listen.
That's what he said. It might hurt him.
Let's one of us get out. Doesn't matter.
It wouldn't affect him. It wouldn't affect him. It's the truth. 2 words. Harold said he was just here. That's it. When I walked in the door.
Yeah.
But I wrote up my statement and gave it to the prosecution just in case these defense attorneys changed their mind. They could use me. I don't know if you knew that. I wrote it out and described because if they wanted to call me and they didn't give my name or my statement, they couldn't call me. So just in case they wanted to change their mind, but they all knew he didn't do it. They all knew it.
Yeah. Oh, well, that's what it was. What else you got?
Well, we should probably pay some bills real quick. Let's talk about Amadeo.
Amadeo's. Great food, great pizza,
You got to give me a location.
great people.
Where is it?
It's in Knightsville in Cranston, right?
Right off Park Ave.
Diagonally across from Marchetti's on Park
Oh, I
Avenue.
know where it is. Yeah, nice.
Marchetti's. I can't say enough about these guys. Amadeo's. I hope people go there and check it out. That's all I can say. And then they'll be making comments. Oh, you were right. Everything was good. Harriet's Kitchen. That's my favorite home fry place. Now I don't use them no more because I'm trying to get back on a diet. But
you look better. Yeah.
Louie and Debbie, the owners, they're great. They're good people. You know, like anything else, there people want a bad rap restaurants and stuff like that, especially if they haven't gone there. That pisses me off. Don't go there instead of bad rap. Don't listen to what somebody else said. You know. But anyway, then we have
Catanzaro Food Products.
Catanzaro's.
I love that pepper biscuit.
Catanzaro.
Every week I am.
That pepper biscuits.
Oh, I love them. Yeah.
Phenomenal. They
Best.
do everything. And, you know, I was so impressed when I go to different markets and I see the Catanzaro's sauce, and it's great. It's very good. And you can't go wrong. Yeah, and he's also, like I said, they're doing pet food. There's cookies for pets. And that's pretty cool.
That's nice. Yeah,
Yeah.
we got dogs.
Okay.
Paul, when Jerry went to, when Harold went to jail, you were there at all of his appeals, right? Or his
Not his appeal. I went to the parole boards,
Yeah.
and I said to them, one of the main thrusts you have is whether the person is rehabilitated. This man did not do it. He doesn't have to be rehabilitated. He was not there. They didn't pay attention. They eventually let him out early because I think was earlier than Jerry. I think because they knew, but they had to take the position that he was convicted. They couldn't. They had to take that position. We had some good people on the parole board. Dr. Walker was on. He was a super brilliant man. But they all knew what I was saying. And nobody ever said to me, "Why are you here? Why do you say that? Why is that the case?" Let me tell you something. The attorney in the prosecutor case was a good guy, a good friend of mine. He never called me up or asked me what happened. The state police know I was sitting there, never interviewed me to find out what happened. They never called me to the grand jury. Now, you got a guy sitting there that you think 2 guys just came in after killing somebody. Don't you think you'd ask them some questions? Not a thing. What does that tell you? They didn't want to hear what I had to say. What, they think I was going to lie? I wouldn't lie.
because they're going to put 2 people away, 2 bad people on their.
I think they believed. I think at least one of those guys believed Harold was in the car because they had Sandy here. But let me tell you something. I got to say this. I loved Harold, but Jerry would never take him on a jaywalking expedition. Never taken him anywhere on any kind of a crime if he ever committed a crime. He never would have taken him there. He's a different kind of guy, Harold. Harold was a barroom fighter, blustering, but a good guy. You want to hug him. But he'd never take. I knew he'd never take him any such a thing. If he did,
you don't want to hug me? What's up
I
with
do.
that?
I do. I hug you all the time.
Jesus Christ.
When you were skinnier.
How did you hear that Harold had passed? Remember?
Yeah, I was at New Hampshire. My sister told me because she was with him at the time.
Yeah, he was a good guy.
Yeah, that was a travesty right there. I got to tell you.
I'll never forget that Harold. When I think he might have been in jail. Harold was charged with tying this guy up. Judge McKenzie, tying this guy to a chair. I forgot what it was. try to get some information from him, slapping him around, things like that. So we're going through this whole violation hearing. The violation hearing, the proof is less of a burden on the state than beyond a reasonable doubt. It's clear. If the judge is reasonably satisfied, did something wrong, be violated. So turns out I go up and get the records from the medical center. The guy was an escapee from the nut house. All right, cops never told the judge that. Nothing. So finally, they got pulling that. Mackenzie says, "What are we doing here?" But Harold was funny. Probably did it, but who knows? He pulled some weird capers like that.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Nothing Jerry would have been involved with.
I don't know. Excuse me 1 second.
Should we talk about the time I threatened Benjamin? We had to go to the state police barracks.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, that's true. Didn't do it.
Check with my counsel.
Nothing
That's what
criminal.
it's all about.
There's nothing
There's
criminal
nothing,
there.
there's nothing criminal. I'm on this is right after an individual named Jerry Christie got killed. A friend of his, I'm at Michael's Lounge, a friend of his pulled up, asked somebody for me to come out, Ronnie Calderon. I go out because he's passed away now.
He's not
I
wrong.
go out and I talk to him. He says, Jerry, he says, I didn't have nothing to do with it. I said, I don't even know what the hell he was talking about, right? It was about his friend's murder. I had nothing to do with it. I didn't even know it happened. So anyway, so he says, listen, I want to tell you, I got it from a good source that you're in a hit parade. What the fucking hit parade? I said, what source? He says, yeah, Major Benjamin made a comment that I would be in the trunk in a week. I said, is that right? I got you. I got Paul. I went to a phone. I say, Benjamin, this is Jerry Tillinghast. You're going to be in the same fucking trunk I'm going to be in. And I hung up on him.
Yeah, what are you crazy talking to state police? But Benjamin was a good guy, by the way.
He wasn't a bad guy.
He was a good cop.
Listen, so now, just to kind of show, we got arrested. I get arrested. And I'm going to Gerard's
I
birthday
came
party
close with
on
being next
Atwood
to him.
Avenue, across the Cranston Police Station. There was a club there. So I'm getting ready to go up, and two state police officers in plain clothes come up and says, Jerry, I said, who are you? So where's state police? I said, yeah. He said, well, Colonel Stone wants to see you. I said, well, tell him to come on down. I'll be right there. He said, no, he wants you to come to the barracks. I says, I ain't going to no fucking barracks. I don't care what he wants, So he said, we're going to have to arrest you. I said, yeah, good luck to you. I said, but go ahead. I said, well, listen, Jack Cicilline came out at the time. And I said, and Jack said, what's going on? I said, and I told him. I said, look, I'll tell you. First, I want to call my lawyer. I called Paul and say, look at it. We're going to go to the barracks. Paul, we're going to the Situate barracks.
Oh, not again, are we?
Meet me there, all right? I don't know what this is about,
Should I
but
wear armor?
we're being summoned, all right? So now we go and he's there. We walk in. Major Benjamin's behind this counter. He starts yelling at me. I tell him, hey, go fuck yourself. And the state police, the new ones were over there going, whoa, what the fuck is going on? That's our leader. What do you? So Colonel Stonecrow said, all of you shut the fuck up. And told me and him to come back in his office.
Stone was a good
I said,
guy.
Joe, you taping this? He says, no, but he had his drawer open a little bit. They tape it, But anyway, and he tried to tell me this. What's the problem? I told him. He said, well, who told you that? I said, it was a reliable informant. I said, that's what you guys use, right? I said, I ain't telling you who that was. Anyway, so now we're leaving. And Benjamin says, look, are we all set? That's what he told us. Are we all good? It's because I don't want to worry about coming out of my house at night. I said, oh my God, to myself. I says to Paul outside, I said, Paul, that comment scared me. He said, what do you mean? He said he didn't worry about, he didn't want to worry about coming out of his house at night. I said, if he's thinking that, I would even think about shooting a cop, which you never would. You don't do that. Anyway, especially in Rhode Island, they would have tore it apart. But I says, I'm in trouble because I'm a threat to them. As I'm going to jail, my friend. And but he stopped. He said, listen, I have to let you know you're on the hit parade. Now, back then they had a show called the Hit Parade. They used to do top 10 songs.
Yeah, right.
I said, really? I said, and I didn't even put out a song. I said, well, how'd I do? He says, you know what I mean? I said, no, I don't know what you mean. He says, well, we got it. There's somebody out looking for you. I said, yeah, well, how about this? If you find me in the trunk of a car, just shut it. If you dig up a hole and I'm in it, just fill it back up. Don't worry about it. Because whoever did it to me eventually happens to them. So it'll come around. What goes around comes around. and that's it. And we walked, right? And
Jerry,
they couldn't figure that out.
What was it?
Why did they think you had something to do with Jerry Christie's murder?
Who knows?
No, they didn't.
Oh.
Ronnie Calderon was a friend of his. He was just trying to protect himself, I guess. He thought that because I never liked Christie. First wise guy I met,
He was the first one.
I knocked him out.
Yeah.
And he started it, and I knocked him out in front of the Peter Pan Diner.
But he was murdered he was like strangled, shot, and burned or something like that.
Yeah, somebody didn't like him. But, you know.
What was the charge that you were still in jail? You were in jail on the 78 charge. That we went down. We had a bail hearing. Rob DeMace was involved with it.
Joe Schiavone.
Joe Savoni. He's in jail. They arrested for indicted for another murder.
Then he indicted me for a double murder right after
That's
that
right,
for
that's right.
Ralph Imperatori and Billy Levin.
That's right. But this one, the co-defendants hire William Kunzel. You seen this Chicago
Bill
7?
was a good guy.
He was a good guy. So we go, and I get it severed from the other people.
Right.
I told him, he said, Kunzel said, you can't do that. You won't be successful. Watch me. We get it severed. They go to trial. I think they lost or won. I forget. Ralph won that.
No, they won.
Won it. So they never tried him on that case. They dismissed
Well,
that.
what happened was Kunstler tore that kid apart.
Oh, he did, yeah.
Said that I was driving a truck. He said, well, describe him. I was 5'9" with a black beard.
I tried a couple of cases
They
with
showed
Kunstler after
pictures of
that.
who the driver was. I looked 5'9" and got a black beard. Come on.
I tried a couple of
All
cases
right, Black
with him.
Man.
Yeah.
Kunstler, I represented his friend Gerard Ouimet in a federal case in the early 80s. We won an appeal. So I got it shipped out of Rhode Island to Bridgeport because everybody must know Gerard Ouimet's name and the juries and all that. So we get up there.
Gerard who?
to some guy. So we're up there. I meet Kunstler's office in Greenwich Village. We spent hours and hours putting it together. I tried this case myself, putting it together, hours and hours putting this case together. So in his final argument, he says to the jury, you wonder why this guy's here from Rhode Island. Well, they thought he's a mafia member. That's why he saw it up here. All that work I did was gone, all right? So then he's found guilty. He was a brilliant lawyer, don't get me wrong, but I'm walking out, he said, I represent people with social causes, not things like this. I swear to God.
I want to say one thing quick. To people out there that have attorneys or might get arrested or anything like that, and I'm saying it with Paul, all due respect. Paul knows, he's never asked me. I said, do not, under any circumstances, tell your lawyer you did it. Because what eventually happens, they'll try the best they can, but in the back of their mind, they know that you did it because you told them you did it. So if they can't win the case, best thing to do is try to make a deal for you. But in the back of their mind, it takes away all creativity, I think, because they think that, you told them that you did it. I mean, he can't go out of the box and try to do something to create anything. So
let me
be
add
careful
this.
what you say.
Let me add this to that. I rarely ask people who were allegedly involved in some kind of crime for a living what took place, because I'm not going to be the leak, number one. I don't need to know. They're probably not going to tell me. And if something leaks out, I didn't do it. It's not me. But if you didn't do it, you should tell your lawyer, so he can go do what he has to do. And in that Bonneville case, he told me where he was briefly, and he was there. So every case is a little different. The days of the
I got to quit it, but don't believe me. Everybody, I run up to people and say, where'd you bury the money? Where'd you bury the money?
Believe me, if I told you what I charged this guy to do that, you would be upset. It was so minimal because I know he didn't do it. He didn't have any money.
Hey, quick question that just came in. Is this the same DeRobio that later became a judge?
Yes.
Yes.
He lived right behind my house.
And I have to tell you,
Good guy.
outside
Good
of,
guy.
he put his life out there with the state and stuff like that, and they screwed him.
Yeah.
Mentor.
But he was a very smart man. A lot of respect. During that trial, I didn't, because it's us
It's on the other side.
they're trying to put me in jail for the rest of my life. I'm not going to say, oh, thank
After
you.
that trial,
Fuck that.
DeRobio's on the bench. He's charged with a misdemeanor. We're in front of DeRobio. We find him not guilty. Same judge.
Yeah.
Shortly after the trial, when he was, so that's what kind of guy he was. But I grew up in Edgewood. He was down in Edgewood, and he was one of my mentors when I started practicing law. Him and a guy named Billy Dimitri, who was eventually a judge. Brilliant lawyers. Try cases against them. You had to work.
I'm friends with his son, Albert Jr.
You're also friends with the Mancuso kid.
Oh,
too.
Tony, yeah, great kid. Yes, I give a lot of respect for Tony Mancuso. Say, please, he was what he was. He was a cop, but
He was a good cop. And he's the guy that went to Las Vegas and got back with
what
Dussault.
cracked me up was they interviewed him afterwards. They said, told him that they went there, said the guys on Rhode Island killed Chucky Flynn,
Yeah.
which they didn't.
Right.
He was still alive.
Right.
And so they questioned Lieutenant Mancuso afterwards, said, "Did you lied?" He says, "Yeah, I lied. That was funny as a bastard, you know." But
he was a good
hey,
cop.
listen, I hope you all enjoyed the show. I want to thank you all, my guests, my fans, my family. You enjoyed it?
I did.
Brings back memories.
Yeah.
When it was fun to practice law. Today, forget it.
Listen, no matter what happens in life, we're going to make good choices. We're going to make bad choices, but you have to make them. Don't regret not making a choice. You wouldn't want to sit back and say, "Geez, I should have did that," and see how it comes out. You try it. You try it. Trial and error. That's what it's all about. And I hope I'm your host, Jerry T, and I hope to see you all next week. Thank you. Good night.